In the world of mid-2000s era comedy, there are few films that hit as hard as 2004's Shaun of the Dead. Director Edgar Wright delivered a wild, blood-soaked romp that was both endlessly hilarious and surprisingly emotional. And with Wright's new film, One Night in Soho, set to release later this year, we're returning to this comedy classic to see what makes it work so well. How's that for a slice of the fried gold? You know, I'm not really sure I want to know what fried gold tastes like, but now that I think about it, a lot of food has the use of gold on it at the moment.
It certainly does.
Welcome to the show, you wonderful, wonderful people. My name is Christopher Kitchen. I am here, as always, with my wonderful co-host, Zach Schrackman. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Good. Like I said, I don't think I've had any type of gold flavored or inserted food. I realize that's a thing that's kind of came out of the last couple of years, edible gold. I wonder if you could just grab like enough of it and melt it down. Could you make like a gold bar? I don't mean, is it the same kind of stuff? Is there any
I have no idea.
negatives to eating?
You can order edible gold like flakes or leaves or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Off Amazon. I think I can get one for
toxic?
I have no idea. I've had like a pastry with gold flakes on it.
Does it taste like rich?
No, you don't really taste it. It was cool. I cross it off my bucket list. I've eaten gold.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of disappointing then.
But I've never fried gold.
Never fried. I feel like I've seen fried chicken with gold on it or something like that. I mean, I can't imagine that there's
To anyone who's like curious what we're talking about, obviously we're talking in today's episode of Script to Screen about Shaun of the Dead, and the phrase "slice of fried gold" is a line that comes up in the movie, and it was actually something that Nick Frost came up with during the days of Spaced. So that is we're not crazy. We're not actually talking about frying gold.
There you go. Zach, this is a wonderful film ahead of us. This was not my introduction to Edgar Wright, but definitely the introduction for most people. I want to say like everywhere else.
Oh, for me, definitely it was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I would say I was more, I think Hot Fuzz was my introduction to him. But there's a relationship between the two films outside of the director and the cast.
Yes.
So, dude, what can we say about this movie?
Well, how about this? For anyone listening, we have a whole host of social medias that you should go and follow. We got our Facebooks, our Instagrams, our Twitters. We are on all podcast platforms. We are on Amazon Music, podcast, whatever. We're on Amazon. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere where you can get podcasts, you will find us, and of course on our host Anchor. And
that is true.
You can find us at our website, which is www.scriptorscreen.com. And on any of these platforms, you can leave us reviews, you can comment, you can suggest things for us to talk about in the future, or questions you have about the movies we talk about, or about us, if you're curious. Like, what did my dog eat today? Like breakfast.
What did your dog eat today?
Kibble. Like, it's, just normal, like, kibble. I think I gave her a little piece of cheese in the morning.
Oh, you know what? I think I stopped giving Iggy cheese just because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like every time he loves it and we give it to him, but then he just farts the rest of the day and it's just god awful. And I can't allow myself to enable him to be a fart machine anymore. I just can't. I won't allow myself to do it anymore. So it's really hard.
Does he stare you in the eyes and he goes, "I'm sorry, Chris"? He's
like, "Please, Papa, more cheese."
And then he goes, "No, Chris, I'm sorry."
I don't know about that. First of all, he does not call me Chris or Christopher.
Oh, Calls you Papa.
Hey, Papa, Dad, Daddykins.
It's weird that your dog talks. It's not normal.
It's actually, I thought it was like kind of a bonus, you know?
You know what? That's a better way to think of it. That's more of an optimistic way to look at it.
He's so full of personality. Like right now, it's like I look over and he looks back at me. He's like, "Oh, you're looking at me? Oh, I'm gonna get on my back. You wanna touch my belly? I know you like to do that." He's that's his only personality. But anyways, this isn't the dog podcast. Thank you, Zach, for doing our little self-promotion, social media managing shebang, or whatever you want to call it. We're back here at the show.
That's what I was going to call it.
Yeah, bingo. Boom. We're back here at the show. We're talking Shaun of the Dead. An oldie but goldie. I guess old and relative to now. Dude, this movie's like, what, came out 2004? Not necessarily 20 years old, but
it's like a 17-year-old movie.
Oh my god. But it's still...
Or it will be.
Still, it's so great, so perfect of a film. And plus, not to mention the director, Edgar Wright, and co-writer with Simon Pegg. These are some... I would like to say they're household names, but maybe not necessarily.
I was definitely going to say... I was going to use that word. Household names. These... Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, I would say out of everyone involved with these films, those two are probably the most well-known names, and I would say Nick Frost by proxy of Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
But definitely more so Pegg than Frost, and, Wright, who has gone on to become one of the most, influential filmmakers.
At least to our generation.
Yeah. So many people have aped his style. I know from independent films I've seen, and people who are getting into the film industry and making their own films.
People I went to film school with. I've everybody's favorite filmmaker. It's either Tarantino or Edgar Wright. Funny enough, friends in real life they are.
There you go. And I think there's a good reason for that, because this movie, I can tell you that, when I first heard about it, I probably saw it. I didn't see it in theaters. I probably saw it, when it was on already, out on, DVD and on TV. But, it was one of those movies that, the second you watch it, it was just, there was nothing like it.
Yeah.
And
were you a fan of zombie films before this one?
Yeah, when I was younger, and I still like zombie stuff, but not as much as I used to. But back then, I was crazy about zombie stuff, and the Romero movies, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, all that stuff, and then getting into Shaun of the Dead. It was also its unique type of comedy that was just, not like anything we got here in the States.
Yeah. I would say for the most part, I don't know if I don't necessarily not like zombie films. I don't think I spent a lot of time watching a lot of the classic George Romero or Night of the Living Dead films. I think most of the films that I've seen in the genre, I want to say came after, I don't know, the 90s. The ones that come to mind, not necessarily zombie pigeonholed, but in that disaster film master, I Am Legend and World War Z. In some of these, I guess also, what is this one with Woody Harrelson and
Zombieland.
Zombieland, I wouldn't say it's my favorite genre or something that I was always attracted to, but this is the one I can always kind of go back to and think it's just a great movie. I don't even know if I watch it for zombies, but rather the characters and just the hijinks itself,
So I think let's kind of give a little background on the movie, kind of talk about who was involved, and then we can dig into what is known as the Three Flavors Cornetto, because I think that plays a big role in the fact that this is even a zombie movie at all.
Got you.
All right,
give
us. Yeah, you want to hit him with that synopsis?
For sure. Okay, so the synopsis comes to us from Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go. Shaun, played by Simon Pegg, is a 30-something loser with a dull, easy existence. When he's not working at the electronics store, he lives with his slovenly best friend, Ed, played by Nick Frost, in a small flat on the outskirts of London. The only unpredictable element in his life is his girlfriend, Liz, played by Kate Ashfield, who wishes desperately for Shaun to grow up and be a man. When the town is unexpectedly overrun with zombies, Shaun must rise to the occasion and protect both Liz and his mother, played by Penelope Wilton.
Yeah, I mean, that is essentially the gist of it. I've always seen it as, he's a man-child, and he is forced through extraordinary means, or extraordinary circumstances, I should say, to grow up and kind of become someone who's not just killing time.
He's put into the the Logan position, right, where he must face his inevitable future. That's a little more of a. I'm reaching there, but it's not necessarily coming of age, because obviously he's of age.
It's coming of age in the sense of you need to start acting like an adult.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, this movie is directed by one Edgar Wright, if we haven't said yet. It was written by Wright and by Simon Pegg. Cinematography by David M. Dunlap. Editing by Chris Dickens. It was released... What's up?
I was going to say, Chris Dickens was his editor for a number of his films until he and Edgar Wright kind of parted ways, and now Paul Maclais, or Maclais, is now his kind of new editor since Scott Pilgrim and World's End.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then this movie was released on April 9th, 2004, so just about 17 years ago. That was in the United Kingdom, and then it hit States in September 24th, 2004. It's about...
Oh, boy.
It's about an hour, 40 minutes long. This movie, it had a budget of $6.1 million and a box office return of $30 million, so a modest success.
Tell me something. We go back. Actually, let's look at this inflation calculator of 2004 to now.
We're looking at $30 million. What that is today?
I mean, I would say in 2004, if made in 2021, you said $6 million. So if I put 6, I'll put 3 zeros there and 3 zeros there. Let's calculate that. It's actually about $8 million, almost 8.5, $8.3 million now. Because I was thinking, in comparison to some of those other movies that we were talking about, how much did we say Minari was made for recently?
Right.
I actually have to go back and check, because my mind will race until I find out the answer. Minari was a budget of $2 million. Oh, okay. All right, never mind. All right, so it's about on point, I guess, in terms of low budget, so to speak, zombie movies, and it made $30 million in the box office.
Which today is worth about 41.
Oh, you see, that's great. That is the kind of successes that some of these studios. That's why Edgar Wright's career kind of went off in the way it did, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell with this movie that it's shot in a lot of backyards and in a lot of inside places. The whole back half of the movie takes place in a bar in the Winchester. So they didn't have to go. They didn't need a massive budget to.
I mean, all the extras. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I would say the most expensive scenes were probably, getting to the bar.
Any of the exterior stuff where they used a lot of people. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's set in a kind of a quiet little town, so I think the budget was modest, but they didn't need a crazy big budget for this movie. True. But we have our cast, like you said. We have Simon Pegg playing Shaun, the man in the what do you call it?
The leading role. Yeah.
We have Nick Frost as Ed. We have Kate Ashfield as Liz. We have Lucy Davis as Diane. You might know her. She was in Wonder Woman. I forget her name.
She was also, Zach, she had just come off of like the original run from The English Office as like Pam's counterpart.
Oh, is that who she was?
Yeah. She played like one of the lead roles in the English series The Office.
Okay. Dylan. Then we have Dylan Morin as David, another funny English comedian who he's been in a series of movies, and he actually starred with Simon Pegg in the movie Run Fat Boy Run.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was pretty good. We have Penelope Wilton as Barbara, as Shaun's mother, and I'm trying to see if I know her from anything else. All of our English people are going to be like, "Oh, you stupid Americans." But yeah, I don't know.
Also have the amazing Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, holy crap! Like, what a cool, such a great actor, and he's he does such a good job in.
There's not one thing I don't love him in.
I don't really care for the I don't care for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies after the first one as anything more than like a guilty pleasure. That being said, his Davy Jones is like the best part of those movies.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. But in this movie he's really good, obviously. We have Peter Serafinowicz as Pete.
You mean of Guardians of the Galaxy fame?
Among other things.
Yeah, he also did the original voice for Darth Maul. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
And then he was replaced by what's his name from the Clone Wars?
Sam Witwer. And then we have Jessica Hines. Previously, she went by Jessica Stevenson as Yvonne, who was Simon Pegg's co-lead on Spaced.
Fine.
And then, like, among others, there's, Rafe Spall has a very small role in this movie, but he goes on to appear in, obviously, Hot Fuzz. I think he's in The World's End, and he's carved himself out a pretty good career.
Don't forget the one visual cameo of Martin Freeman.
I was going to say, this movie is loaded with cameos. We've got Martin Freeman, who's really, he plays basically a Shaun counterpart.
Yeah. He's like this very tiny, not a non-speaking role. I think if he does, he has like one hi or bye kind of line.
Yeah, and another person I want to shout out is Julia Deacon, who is also just in that lineup of Yvonne's people. I think she plays like Yvonne's mother or something. But she is also one of the cast members from Spaced.
Oh, okay.
So it's cool because I think like from when Spaced ended to when this began, it was only a handful of years. It was that ran until 2001, and then obviously so only 3 years after. But I'm sure for the fans of Spaced, it was probably a nice little nod of like, aha, there they are.
They're those guys.
And they do continuously pop up in the other Cornetto movies. Julia Deacon, she I think appears as one of the hotel patrons in The World's End, and there's other actors we'll get into kind of down the line, and when we cover the other movies in this. Yeah. Would you call it a trilogy?
I mean, they're all connected. I mean, they called the Three Cornetto trilogy, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Three Flavors Cornetto. So that itself,
I'll tell you what, the Wikipedia page is called Three Flavors Cornetto Trilogy.
Okay, well there you go.
So there's your answer there.
Obviously, that is a parody of the Three Colors trilogy by Krzysztof Kieslowski. and they don't have anything to do with those movies, just that he had 3 movies based on the 3 colors of the French flag, and then these are 3 movies based off the 3 flavors of Cornetto ice cream. So Shaun of the Dead being strawberry, Hot Fuzz being the regular, which is blue, and The World's End being mint chip, which is green.
Out of those 3, I've never had the Cornetto ice cream or whatever it is, but I would probably go for the mint chip myself in terms of flavor, though I'm more of a Hot Fuzz guy in terms of film.
Yeah, I think it's probably similar to like a King Cone over here. But, yeah, I mean, it always looks good. Apparently, the whole thing arose from Nick Frost having a somewhat proven method of it being a good hangover cure. And,
oh, God.
And that's where they kind of get the idea, and they were given free Cornetto at the premiere of the movie, of Shaun of the Dead, so when they're like, oh, let's mention them again in Hot Fuzz, and maybe we'll get more free ice cream, and it just became a running joke.
That would be awesome. I do want to correct you live on air, though, Zach. Apparently it was Edgar Wright that said that the Cornettos are good for a hangover cure.
Was it? I thought it was Nick
I'm looking.
Frost.
I'm at a thing I'm looking at right now. It says director Edgar Wright has said that he has used the Cornettos as a hangover cure.
Okay, I stand corrected.
It's okay. A couple of pints at the Winchester and we'll be fine.
Haha. So, yeah, I mean, these movies, obviously the 3, they aren't connected by any continuity. They are simply just thematically similar. So they're both always led by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. But they also have a lot of crossover with a lot of the same actors. Usually some actors will get bigger parts or smaller parts. Like, for example, in this, Martin Freeman he doesn't even like speak, he's just a cameo. And then in Hot Fuzz, he has one scene, and then in The World's End, he's an entire character, like main character.
Yeah.
And we see that with like a lot of the actors. Someone who is big in this movie becomes a much smaller part later. So it's cool seeing where the actors end up in each movie. The themes throughout, usually they're like about growing up or facing adulthood, but they could also be kind of like about not letting go of what you enjoy and what makes you you. So, it's a cool balance between grow up but don't lose sight of what makes you you.
That's true. But kind of going into this specific film, I guess spoilers ahead, because this film is 17 years old, ladies and gentlemen, so go watch it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Shaun of the Dead, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't know, man. I want to say that one of the best parts about this movie for me personally is that, and I've said this before, that the film itself is really, it has this theme, this story of Shaun, and he has to grow up and do all these things, but it's in the guise of a zombie film that's completely uninterested in some of the tropes of zombie films or like disaster films. That is like how the zombies came to be, or like finding the cure, or doing all that business.
It's just people stuck in the situation and they're just surviving.
Exactly. And so like it's kind of awesome because in a way it's like, hey, they could have been put in any type of situation, or this,
right, of course.
It did not have to be a zombie film, but the fact that they put it in this just random, it's not random, but like in this scenario, kind of lends to a lot of like the humor that we get as well.
Oh, absolutely.
We have them just trying to figure out, all right, so for them to get from point A to point B, they have to figure, all right, how do we kill these zombies? Or just what do we do? And then they realize, oh, we got to bash them in the head. Like, they try to throw the what are they?
The records.
The records, and then like they get household tools and everything. And it's just, really fun as well. Like this film has no, it's as much comedy as it is in everything else. Because that's what Edgar Wright, I feel like, has been come to known for, is just like all these visual gags and these great moments.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to punctuate a funny moment with like a really good editing flourish, or just something that really, it elevates the comedy beyond just like simple like verbal humor. I would say, if anyone,
I'll say this though, that him and Simon Pegg, in terms of like writers, I think they're both equally like great writers. Like all the dialogue, and everything is perfect.
The writing is wonderful. It's slick. It is efficient, but I feel like I would recommend anyone listening to this go watch the video from the YouTube channel Every Frame a Painting. That is about Edgar Wright and how he does comedy, because he brings up a good point that a lot of comedy, at least in like American movies, or I should say in Hollywood films, it's a lot of ad lib, and it's a lot of just back and forth verbal comedy. There's not much creativity in the way of like how a scene is shot or what the characters are doing in that scene, so much as are they saying a funny thing and have they fallen down yet. And I feel like with Edgar Wright films, he points out, and it's clear if you just watch it, you don't need someone to tell you, scenes are just, the way he shoots things are so funny. I want to look at literally the first scene of the movie, which is Shaun and Liz in the pub, and they are talking about the troubles with their relationship, and interspliced, we see Ed, who is staged, the shot is set up that Ed is directly in between Shaun and Liz, as if, he is the thing that is coming between their relationship.
Yeah.
And as she's trying to get her point across, he is like cursing about the game he's playing, and all the things he says are funny kind of punctuations onto what she is saying. And then they go on to talk about David and Diane as if they're not there, only for Shaun to directly address them, and only then does Edgar Wright show that they are sitting right there.
We get like a slight pan and everything, just like those little reveals. Yeah. The editing only really gets better with each film, I want to say. Like, it's just, so the editor for this one is Chris Dickens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they just had like this great kind of relationship of like including very like quick cuts, very like fast paced. So just kind of match every beat of the word, versus like matching editing with music or something like that. And I don't know. It's not that I don't know where they got this from. You could look at all like their favorite film lists. I think Edgar Wright's very prominent on social media, where every year he lists like his top 100 favorite films or something like that, and you can search there and just kind of put the pieces together. But I don't. They just kind of created such a system that it almost, to me, I don't see any other filmmaker right now making these choices as well as them. The execution is almost perfect.
No, it's at times flawless, and and it like I said, it elevates the comedy so much, because it's like, it's not just like, in the scene when they're in the garden and they're dealing with Mary, and they push her over, she falls and like lands on that, whatever that thing is, like the pipe or whatever, and it goes through her midsection, and she gets up and she like lifts herself off of it, and they're just standing in like total like awe of what they've just seen. And that in and of itself is kind of funny, just the look on their faces. But the fact that he chooses then to have Nick Frost wind his camera up, the use of like a silly sound at that moment is so jarring that like it increases the hilarity.
Yeah. I honestly, I mean, you can look at other great moments where it's like, Nick, or I guess Nick Frost is Ed, and then you have Dave's character at separate times go into the basement of the Winchester in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, and then they both turn on the light and they see, or I guess it's not Ed, it's Simon's character,
Shaun,
and Shaun, excuse me, the title character of the film. Jesus. And then they kind of, ignite the light outside and say all the zombies at the window, like, oh, shit, we've got an issue. And then I guess one of my favorite moments in the entire film is just Shaun's plan and the way they execute it. And we get like this light visual of Shaun and Ed, crossing each other on frame, acting almost as a transition to like knock a zombie, go grab Liz, go grab Mom, and then we'll all be back at the Winchester as well. Or even just like some of the other like montages where Shaun's getting ready for the day, like he goes to the bathroom, like washes his hands and everything. It's all like quick and snappy. Like even the mundane crap is all look like very exciting and very visual and just kind of
it's great.
blasts you in the face.
It definitely makes the movie stand out from like any other movie you're seeing, and that's what makes it memorable. Like if I told you like, hey, we're making this movie and I'd like you to edit it and I want you to do like some like Edgar Wright cuts in the transitions, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Actually, funny enough, because there are times that I thought like I want to do stuff like this, and I definitely have tried to implement his style into work I've done. And I'll just tell you right now, I don't think I've been able to recreate it as well as him. I really think that there's just something that he does that it's unparalleled to a lot of other filmmakers. Even people may try. Like I said, I tried. I really did. I do not think the execution went as well as he did. Because I'm not him, man. He's just one in a million, this guy.
Yeah, it's such a fun style that like you almost like can't help but like I want to make stuff like that as snappy and as just like energized as it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man.
And not once do you ever watch it and go like, God, this is too crazy. I need to like, I wish it would slow down. Because
I just feel like he has a really a big understanding and like kind of almost a mastery of just editing as a craft, and also like the theory behind it. Like I want to say it's kind of blown everything else out of the water that's tried to do it very similarly. Like I don't think montages are the same. Looking at any 2000s film, really, versus like, I mean, because you think about it, you look at a lot of 2000s romantic comedies or other films, like they all have a type of montage in them. Like it was a montage followed up with some sort of really catchy song at the time. It was a very big trend. But you look at this film, and it does not. I mean, this film has one of those. It has the what was the scene with the? But it wasn't a montage. It was the one in the Winchester when all the zombies break in, and it's
that's not a montage. It's more just a scene. But his use of montage is there. Like I would think in The World's End, you've got the whole scene set to Alabama song by the Doors. The show me the way to the next whiskey bar.
Yeah.
But he definitely. I don't know. I always say, like, if you want a good example of, like, similar movies and two different takes on it, you look at Shaun of the Dead and you look at Zombieland, because they only came out about, like, 5 years apart, and they're both zombie comedies.
Yeah.
But very different films, very different takes. They're both hilarious. I love both movies. I don't know which... I think I like Shaun of the Dead more.
I can definitively say I enjoy Shaun of the Dead more. In fact, I don't even think I've seen the second Zombieland.
Second Zombieland is fine. It's funny, but it's not as good as the first one. The first one was pretty funny. But like, for example, like, you know how like you were saying like that like they could have been the movie could have been set against any kind of crisis. It didn't have to be a zombie thing. But I think what works about it being a zombie movie is because, like, whenever it's a zombie movie, you can use zombies as, like, a metaphor for, like, anything. So, like, in Dawn of the Dead, it is, like, they're kind of a metaphor for consumerism, you know? Zombies represent us going to malls and we just walk around mindlessly and stuff. And I feel like here it's kind of similar. It's the zombie is a metaphor for people like Shaun who are just stuck in a rut in life. They're not going anywhere. They're just mulling around in their lives. They go to work. They go to the pub.
You say that, and then I think about like the very last scene in the film where on TV life has gone back to normal,
right?
And you see like how they've implemented zombies as like workforce, and also like on game show contestants and things like that. And I'm like, oh my god! And realistically, like it kind of matches up, right? Like the themes and like that last 2 minutes of the film, like,
right? Absolutely, and like there's even like there's the one shot at the beginning when Shaun is like stumbling through the doorway when he's just woken up, and like he's like, you think it's a zombie because you probably know by a name like Shaun of the Dead it's going to be a zombie movie, but he's like lumbering forward and he's like and it pans up and he's just woken up and he's yawning.
Excuse you, it's called a tilt up. God,
excuse
Zach.
me, sorry. Forgive me. But it's a great thing. It's like Shaun isn't a zombie, but he might as well be because he's just going through life aimlessly. And
even with that great kind of one shot of him going like from his apartment to like the corner store, as well. It's like he's so oblivious to the world around him in two or three different instances.
But also not only is he oblivious to what's going on, but it's like the world has hardly changed.
Yeah.
That's because, and so like, when the zombies come in, it's not all that different to what he was normally going through up until the point that he and Ed don't even realize it until they realize there's a zombie in their backyard.
That is true.
Actually, excuse me, they don't even realize something's wrong until she falls on the pipe and it goes through her stomach, because before that they think she's just drunk.
Yeah,
and
they push her.
But so like when the movie comes to a close and you see like Shaun has basically he has self-actualized, he has come into his own, he's accepted that he needs to take a more active role in his life and in his relationship and stuff, and he can't just sit around doing nothing.
He's become the real me that he's supposed to be.
Right. But I like that, it's a nice thing. It's like, if you're just going through life, you might as well just be a zombie. And you do get that similar sentiment literally spelled out for you in Zombieland. It ends with a monologue by Jesse Eisenberg. Was it Jesse Eisenberg? Yes. And he says, if you go through life, that movie's more about community and about friendship, but it's, he says, without friends, you might as well be a zombie. This movie, I think, is more subtle in that it doesn't have to spell out the moral of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear, but either way, in both situations, you get this, that's why I feel like it being a zombie movie is so important, because it's so central to Shaun's growth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to continue to compare the two, I feel like Zombieland has to be a zombie movie no matter what. Like, you look at I don't think you could take those characters in that story and put it in a different scenario and it would work as well.
Probably
because
not.
Unless it's another
not.
type of survival situation. But at that point, no, I feel like, I don't know. I think that's what makes Shaun of the Dead such a much more stronger movie. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the fact that it is a zombie movie, it allows for everything to just work a lot better.
And it leads to some of the best comedy, I feel. Like, honestly, when they're going down when they're choosing, like, how they're going to get to the Winchester, and they're like, okay, we need to act like zombies to get through the crowd, and they're all going through the line and practicing. And it gets to Barbara, and Diane's like, Barbara, that's wonderful. And she just snaps, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was miles away.
Yeah. Well, I actually like that too, because you know what? Earlier in the film, because we got that bit from Diane's character, played by Lucy Davis, is that we got a subtle drop that she's like a failed actor or
right.
or whatever. And then at the end, she's going through all the lessons with them, teaching them. And I forgot about that until I rewatched it. Like, it has a lot of great, like, kind of small, like, character bits that, like, all pay off in the end. And if there's one thing I've said on this show that I really fucking enjoy, Zach, it's a goddamn payoff that's like really, really subtle, really in there, and it gets you in the end. Everything's just wrapped up nice. Goes to show that Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg know what the hell they're doing.
Absolutely. And I mean, I love the, obviously the "Don't Stop Me Now" fight scene is outstanding. I love, when Shaun says, he's kind of giving out orders to everyone, and he tells Liz, "Kill the queen," and she's like, "What?" And he's like, the jukebox.
Yeah. And also there's the whole like gun bit as well.
Oh yeah, the Winchester.
Yeah, they didn't know if it was a real gun or if it wasn't. There was like a little bet between them. I honestly, if we could, let's kind of go down the list of like all the jokes in the film, because I can't imagine. I don't even know which one I like the most.
Well, first off, I would like to point out at the very close to the beginning, it's after Liz has dumped Shaun, and he is in the bar getting drunk with Ed. Edgar Wright does this. I guess he and Simon Pegg do this twice. They do it in this movie. They do it in The World's End, where they have someone saying something in the beginning of the movie, which spells out the entire plot. So in this, he tells he has Ed say, "We'll have a Bloody Mary first thing, a bite at the King's Head, a couple of little princesses, stagger back here, and bang back to the bar for shots." And each of those lines is something that happens in the movie. So Bloody Mary is the zombie in the backyard. A bite at the King's Head is Philip at his house getting bitten.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
My favorite little pub in my city where I grew up in is actually called King's Head. And
yes, we went there.
Oh, we did. I took you on what was it?
St. Patty's.
Yeah, a couple years ago. I miss that place like hell, dude. I wish I could have supported them through the entire pandemic. I'm so worried that they're not doing well right now.
I don't know. I think I drove by there a few weeks ago, and it's still there.
Thank God.
And also, the King's Head is a pub in The World's End. But
I want to say it's a common name for a pub.
Probably.
Yeah.
But then, a couple of little princesses is when they reunite with Liz and company. And they stagger back to the Winchester. They pretend to walk like zombies, so they're staggering. And bang, back to the bar for shots. They use a gun when the zombies break in to shoot the zombies.
It's just a great little, like, kind of, all the little breadcrumbs they put everywhere, man. Like, this, it was still so well thought out and everything. I just can't imagine somebody watches this. What did you say the IMDb rating of this film was like?
A 7.9.
If there's one, I kind of want to go and look at some of these low ratings and see what the hell people were thinking.
I'm gonna say it right now. And this is just a fact, and I'm sorry if I upset anyone, but if you don't like this movie, you're an idiot.
But it's also like why? Like
let's see. User reviews. We're gonna
reviews.
See all 1,021. I
want to see the lowest rating.
Okay. Show 1-star reviews. Boring and not funny at all. So this person said, "Oh, this was in 2010." He said, "Okay, I am really not one of these the worst movie ever gang member, but this one was really bad, and I mean it. I tried so hard to enjoy a little bit, but I didn't smile even one time. I don't know how this movie can be rated 8, but the first time in my life I am giving such a confident 1, and he hasn't said why it's bad though."
Yeah. He said, "From beginning to end, it is slow and the jokes are so bad." Oh, you're an idiot. "If you really want to watch it, fasten your seatbelt to not escape screaming and drink one of those liter of coffee so that you don't sleep. It's not only the plot, the acting was bad as well. I didn't find the characters funny overall. This is plain bad. You're bad. Was this helpful? Nope."
Let's see. This one's from 2011. This one's from 2011. Oops! To me, this movie was a total disappointment. Perhaps too much British humor that I don't understand, but nothing on this movie reflects the current IMDb rating. So it's like, okay.
I'll tell you what, though. This is not British or English humor. This is, because that's more like dry, like, I mean, like I get if you don't like The Office, like the English series Office, I do. But to not like this? Come on.
I mean, to say something is like not funny because of the country it came from is like, I'm like, what are you saying? Because like the movie's just funny. The lines are just funny.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of it being British or not. It's just like, anyway. So yeah, this movie, if you don't like this movie, you're stupid, and I have I have no sympathy for you. But you know what's freaking
That'll
great
be the
about
title of this
Shaun of the
episode.
Dead?
If you don't like Shaun of the Dead, you're stupid.
You know what? I'm doing it. We're doing it. But
Oh god.
But you know what again elevates this movie beyond just a silly little funny zombie film, is that it has some actually like surprisingly dramatic moments. Like moments where you're just like, holy crap, like it gets sad at times.
Dude, do you want to talk about the whole Philip thing? Like that hit home right there.
So yeah, so I love that, like at first, like, we only see him through Shaun's perspective, and as far as Shaun's concerned, he's just the asshole who's with his mom. But like,
he always has to make the reminder, like that's his stepdad, that because his dad had died earlier, and it's just like, all right, like we get it, like you don't like this guy and whatever. And I guess he also came into his life kind of late, right, when he was how did he say, like 12, 14, something like that?
Yeah.
And
but, it's just like, like, again, it kind of speaks to Shaun's immaturity that he never really saw things from Philip's perspective. And when he, we have all these like funny fantasies that Shaun has of like, okay, we're gonna swing by my mom's place, kill Philip, sorry, and they repeatedly like joke about killing him.
Yeah.
So when Philip is dying, when he's bleeding out, and he gives and he is talking to Shaun, it really hits hard.
It's like, oh, I know I didn't want to be your father, I just wanted to be your friend. I wanted you to have somebody to look up to. I'm like, oh fuck, man, like this is really,
and like
it's really sweet.
And his last lines are like, "That's a good boy," and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Bill Nye is like.
First of all, anytime he's ever played a dad, I've loved it. About Time, that's a cheesy movie. I love that movie. It was, I gotta say, like, great best on-screen dad award goes to Bill Nye, or I guess one of the best.
But I mean, like other stuff, like obviously, like Shaun and Ed have a little tiff outside the pub when Ed goes to talk on his phone, which is a hilarious scene. But like the Shaun, like, chewing him out, all you ever do is make me look bad, make me look stupid, and like it feels like two friends actually fighting each other.
Yeah.
Or rather, one friend just berating another friend.
But it's also like, it seems that Shaun's character, in the relationship to Ed, is like, I don't know if I could really see them being friends in real life, like, or Shaun being that kind of person that he would really not confront his friend like that, or like when he sees everybody else in the world is so critical of his friend, like, I don't know. Do you feel like?
Well, that's, I mean, his whole thing is that, like, he doesn't confront Ed about these things, and he's the first person to defend Ed. But I think with this whole zombie situation, Shaun has had to kind of like rapidly mature, especially after Philip dies and everything they've been through. And I mean, Ed answers a phone call right when the zombies are like surrounding them.
Absolutely no social decorum whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. When it comes to, he's like, "Can I get any of you cunts a drink?"
Can I? And let me just say, his character by far is probably the most kind of dated in terms of like film and like his dialogue and everything like that. Like, if ladies and gentlemen, if you're gonna go back and watch this movie, just if you're a little more on the sensitive side, just be warned. Nick Frost, I mean, he's an actor and this is a character. He's not a real person, or he's a real person, but this is not a real person. It's just interesting to see what films were like then, and
right, yeah,
the kind of liberties they took then versus now. And I also have to say, I don't know if this is my favorite role of Nick Frost in these three films.
No, definitely. I think
maybe my second favorite.
For me, I would say his role in. I mean, Hot Fuzz might be my favorite out of the three movies.
It is. It's mine for sure. And so I like him in that more. I like the relationship that they have there.
But I mean, it's still like he's still funny to watch, and like ultimately when he and
I'm just thinking
Shaun
about his monkey impression right now.
Yeah, Clyde.
It's so funny.
And yeah, and he like holds up a middle finger. But when Shaun and Liz and Ed, who has been like, bitten by Pete and by a bunch of zombies, and they go into the basement and they have the final moments of like Shaun and Ed, they, he goes and he gives him a cigarette, and they had the running joke where he farts and he says, "I'm sorry," and Shaun is like, "No, it's okay," and he's like, "No, Shaun, I'm sorry," and only for then Shaun to realize like, "Oh, it's disgusting," like he farted. Yeah. And they have the joke where it's like, "I'll stop doing it when you stop laughing," and he says, "I'm not laughing." And when they reuse those lines in the basement, it is such you're so unprepared for how sad it is.
Yeah. But I mean, what I hate as well is, or it's not that I hate, but it's just like, it kind of hits is just also the fact that they're talking about like how they have to do it, and then, like get rid of themselves in case, because they think this is the end and that's it. And it's like, what a sad relationship.
Yes, but I'll give it to I'll give it to Nick Frost, because he has the best line, because it's like, Shaun says like, "I don't think I have it in me to kill my best mate, myself, and my girlfriend or my mom, my best mate, and my girlfriend all in one day.
Yeah.
And she goes, "What makes you think I've taken you back?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't want to die alone, do you?" And you just hear Ed go, "You know what? That's it. I would like to be shot."
It's all just great timing.
It's wonderful. And again, even like the whole, the business in the bar, once they find out that Barbara's been bit, and everything that happens from that, from like having to deal with her dying to her coming back, and then David tries to kill Shaun, and then everything just spirals out, and it's a really like dramatic set of events.
Yeah. But you know what? By the time like they get to the end of like of the film, where the what could be seen as the Umbrella Corporation or whatever army is coming in, and
it's
like
the British military,
yeah, they're just annihilating the zombies. I'm like, oh my god, are they just going to like saw them in half with bullets as well? You get to that point, it's just like, Jesus, this movie just took a random turn. That's what I'm saying. Like some of the zombie aspects, it's like totally it's sidelined. We have like our TV, like the whole TV bits. I don't know. Did we even talk about that yet? About like just the way that like the kind of world is built like around the events happening, because that was also a very, very clever way of just importing that aspect of like zombie film culture in this entire movie, which is I gotta say, like it was probably the best way for them to do it. We have Shaun flipping through the channels, and we see like the story play out across different shows, because all the dialogue makes sense in its kind of diegetic way.
Yeah. And of course, like you said, we get the recap with the TV at the end, where showing kind of like how society has integrated the zombies. But I'd love to point out zombies. Yeah, I'd love to point out the whole thing of like when it gets to when they're like, as just before he turns off the TV, he goes like, you hear like the news broadcaster saying like, claims that the virus was caused by rage-infected monkeys has now been dismissed as bull, and it cuts off, which of course is a funny reference to 28 Days Later, another really awesome English British zombie film, I guess, if you want to call them zombies. That's a debate for another day.
28 Days Later is with what's his name, right? Cillian Murphy.
Yes.
Okay.
Cillian.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch his TV shows. I just see him in Christopher Nolan movies.
But yeah, directed by Danny Boyle. I really like it. I know there's some people who don't, but they're wrong. And but yeah, man, Shaun of the Dead, it's just so great. You know what I love? This is back, years ago, but I got into the show Spaced. I got into it after the fact. Once I was like really diving into, Edgar Wright's, works and stuff. And it's such a funny show, start to finish. It only ran for 2 seasons or series, if you're English.
That's probably the one piece of his work that I'm really not familiar with. But I know that's where the 3 of them got started together. Well,
not just them. So it was, obviously Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Jessica Hines, and again, a lot of the actors from it appear as characters in the series. And the whole concept of Shaun of the Dead is actually really basically a feature-length version of the episode Art, where his character Tim Beasley is on drugs, or I think amphetamines or something, and he hallucinates zombies everywhere because he's been playing Resident Evil 2.
That's fun.
And here's a fun little tidbit. The Shaun of the Dead takes place in the Spaced universe.
Oh, that's interesting. So
because
go ahead.
I was going to say there's the actor Michael Smiley, who plays the role of Tyres, and in Spaced he's a bicycle courier. He's always in his bright yellow bicycle clothes, and he is a rave junkie, basically. He loves to go to raves, and he's always listening to EDM and techno music, and he's always dancing, and he's always kind of jiving his hands in front of him, even when he's just talking. It's a running joke with his character. And he appears in character just as one of the zombies that's shuffling around outside the Winchester, but he's in the yellow tracksuit. He's still moving his hands around and stuff. So it's funny. I don't know if Shaun of the Dead is actually in that universe, but it's that is.
It's a great nod that they had that. To fans of the show. You know what? It's funny. What did I say? We were actually looking at this the other day. Space is available on IMDb right now, or I guess it's through Amazon with IMDb ads or something like that. I think is how I saw it.
Yeah, and I mean, if
I should probably watch it there.
If you ever get a chance to watch it, it is so funny. And of course, Michael Smiley, I know he appears in The World's End as the guy, I think, who used to sell one of the characters' pot back in the day. And yeah, I mean, Spaced was one of those shows I was dying.
He was also in Rogue One.
Maybe? Who did he play?
I just looked at Michael Smiley's at his filmography. He was in Rogue One. He was Dr. Cornelius Evazan. I don't remember that character.
Oh, so I mean that's what's his name with Punda Baba when they're on what's the planet that they go to in Rogue One?
The desert when they go to Jeddah. When they go to Jeddah,
is it Jeddah? Okay, yeah. So,
and then there's Jeddah City and all that business, and then it gets blown up by the Death Star.
They see Dr. Estevez or whatever and Ponda Baba, and it's they were in A New Hope, and then you wow,
sorry Billy, my audio just went crazy in that, but
the revelation.
Yeah, now I know who you're talking about.
So, but yeah, so that's who that is. Michael Smiley, funny actor. Anyway, awesome. But definitely, if you have not seen Spaced and you want more Edgar Wright in your life, it has the same kind of. it's funny because like when you watch it, you can almost start to see where Edgar Wright is taking his influences from, because Nick Frost's character in that series is I feel very much inspired by John Goodman's character in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
And like down to like he's kind of like a military nut, and he's always got the sunglasses on. But it is still the same like hilarious comedy, and that is my weekly recommendation.
That's my week. I'll share the same recommendation with you. Funny enough, Zach, I don't really take many of your recommendations, not because I don't want to, but because it's sometimes things are different. There's like this. All right, I'm going to inform the audience right now. So there's this bit Zach and I have where he makes me a recommendation of a show, and I just don't watch it. And so every time he's like, "Hey, you should watch this." Not like you're going to or anything, but it's always replied with some remark, and it's just.
But this
one of those things.
This one I definitely recommend if you like British Office or British.
Are you a fan of the English Office with Ricky Gervais and these guys? You like it? Have you ever seen it?
I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I haven't.
Oh, you don't even like regular Office though.
It's not that I don't like it. I just haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
But I know about it, and that's as important.
That's the only show that Zach thinks I play in my house is The Office. He thinks I have it on repeat all the time.
So, but I mean, it's true. Anyway, I want to real fast before we go. I want to talk about like the aftermath that Shaun of the Dead it left in its wake once it was done, because this movie kind of changed a lot of things.
Yeah,
it hit like a fucking truck, and everybody wanted something from it. Like, people were wanting to ride this hype and like capture that lightning in a bottle. I know, like, again, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright basically became household names. By the time they were like, this was, at the peak of its popularity, I'll say, there were already, talks about Hot Fuzz coming out. Simon Pegg, we're talking like, he went on to do Mission Impossible movies. He was in Star Trek.
He's still doing the Mission Impossible movies. He's on Instagram every day, like on set, filming something.
There you go. And I mean, Edgar Wright, he went on to direct Scott Pilgrim. He went on to direct Baby Driver. He was going to direct Ant-Man until...
he still has a writing credit on Ant-Man, funny enough.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, the stuff with Ant-Man was a little weird, but... it was his test footage that made people so excited for it.
That is also true, and I gotta say, they're only getting and doing better things. Like Simon Pegg is a act. I mean, though he's an actor, I guess for the most part. But though he does write, I think he actually wrote or co-wrote one of the last Star Trek film that was produced by J.J. Abrams. At least I think.
And he and Frost have really become icons of, I feel like, nerd culture. Like, I feel like if it's like a nerdy kind of like sci-fi or fantasy title, you might not be surprised to see them crop up in it. I know Simon Pegg, he was in I don't like the movie and I hate the book, but Ready Player One.
Yes, he was.
He popped up in that. Nick Frost was in that show Into the Badlands on AMC.
Yeah, Nick Frost actually had a small role in Wrestlers. Will enjoy Fighting with My Family.
He played her dad, father. Right?
And I gotta say, I really liked his character. Yeah.
And then,
I guess more recently, he was in Scooby Doo and the Scoob. The Sword and the Scoob. Excuse me.
The Sword and the Scoob?
Yeah. He played the voice of Merlin, which I assume is a wizard.
Oh, sure. Probably. Makes sense.
Yeah, I can't imagine he wasn't... They didn't go back in time or something like that for that one.
Yeah, and of course, like, the pairing of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as a comedy duo was something that so many films tried to ape from Shaun of the Dead, from the Cornetto trilogy, but like it started with Shaun of the Dead, and I think people saw the potential of these two as like a duo, and a lot of movies tried to ride that. So like the big one I think was Paul, which was an American made film about like two nerdy dudes who find an alien, and it's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Which definitely was not as good as the Cornetto movies, and I feel like it was just they
also tried throwing Seth Rogen into the mix as well, and like you got to think like maybe Seth Rogen might be big into youth here in America, but I don't know how it fits in outside of that.
Right, and I feel like just it was, they were just chasing the trend of them working together. But I mean, they had a bit role in The Adventures of Tintin. They had a bit role in Ice Age Continental Drift, in Slaughterhouse Rules.
Honestly, they came right before Key and Peele, I want to say, like, because now, Key and Peele, iconic duo, but like Jordan Peele has kind of done his own things, and it's like, it's not every time they're in there, but like I remember, they had their cameo in what is it, Fargo, first season that we saw, and we
Key and Peele, yeah.
But I gotta say that I feel like that one was a little more successful in a way, because like they still brought their dynamic to there, and not that they didn't in Paul or some of these other bits, because like they do their bits, I want to say, are still highlights for a lot of other people around.
And this is
I do want to add, though, Nick Frost is actually going to come out with he's in a new show that's being advertised on HBO that hasn't released yet. It's called The Nevers.
Yes, I've seen
Declan Oren.
I've seen advertisements for that on HBO, and also they do appear together, I believe, as voices as their characters of Shaun and Ed in an episode of Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like, them working together is such a delight, and everybody wanted that magic. But I feel like the best place to get it, you go to the source. The Cornetto trilogy is them like at like the top of their game.
Yeah, and I would say in a way, these movies are kind of timeless at some point. I'll watch.
Aside from some of
aside from some of the dialogue that you may hear from some of the characters, just in general, like I just think they're always good go-to funds. Like that's instant classics.
Absolutely.
This is great films.
This Shaun of the Dead is one of those few films that kind of has a genre of its own. It's a zombie romantic comedy, or as I like to call it, the Zom rom-com.
Yeah.
And
I feel like movies. What was this one that with Aubrey Plaza that came out, and the kid that almost played Green Goblin, or I guess he did in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know what I'm talking about?
Aubrey.
It might not be Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza, and what's the guy? What's Dane DeHaan?
Yeah, is that his name?
Well, that's the guy who played Green Goblin.
Yeah, that's something. He was
Life After Beth.
Yeah, that was like another zombie rom-com, so to speak.
A zombie rom-com.
Yeah, one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not a very dense genre, but it's a fun thing. Like I said, zombies can either be boring or they can be great, and in this case, Shaun of the Dead gets a lot of good films, a lot of good potential filmmaking out of it, and apparently before they decided they were going to do Hot Fuzz, they were going to do a sequel to it called Shaun of the Dead 2 From Dusk Till Shaun. It was going to be about vampires, but they scrapped that.
And but how does that make any sense? Think about what happened to Nick Frost's character.
Yeah, it's probably why they scrapped it.
Yeah, I mean, as fun as an idea as that sounds, I don't know about all that.
Well, luckily they didn't do that. They went ahead and made a fantastic film called Hot Fuzz, which one day we will cover. I believe that as we make our way through 2021, we're going to be trying to cover all of the Edgar Wright films leading up to One Night in Soho, or Last Night in Soho, whatever it's called.
So please, let us know in the comments what your favorite Edgar Wright film is, and which one you can't wait to hear from us next time. There are lots of options, and as Zach presented to us earlier, you have lots of options to let us know. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Script or Screen, or you can check us out on any of our platforms: Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Overcast, whatever the hell the rest of them are called, or our website, scriptorscreen.com or anchor.fm/scriptorscreen. Zach, this has been a great time.
Definitely.
Thanks for talking to us about Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it's, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
But when you work with what you love, it seems like agony because you care so much about every little detail.
That's the saying.
As always, I'm Chris Kitchen.
And I'm Zach Strackman.
We will see you next time.
Bye.